From the Hill Country in Texas, broadcasting world. To Tony second as he's getting more coffee and more brandy. He's just, wild. Anyway, we have quite an interesting week for you this week. If my website will do their thing. Tomorrow, we're going to talk with John Vespasian about rational living. He's the author of 8 books about rational living, including, this is great titles. Where do you hear some of these titles? When Everything Fails, Try This. Rationality is the Way to Happiness. The Philosophy of Builders. The 10 Principles of Rational Living. Rational Working. Consistency, the Key to Permanent Stress Relief. On Becoming Unbreakable. And Thriving in Difficult Times. He sounds interesting, doesn't it? You should see a picture of John, man. He's great. He's got this big beard, man. He's cool. So he'll be here tomorrow. Brandon Amalani, good friend and maker of Shen Blossom Herbs. He has a new toy to help neutralize electromagnetic fields. He knows a lot about Chinese medicine, and he's got some really cool superfoods like goji berries, schizandra. And what do you hear the way he makes this? And then also 50-year-old ginseng that's made in a traditional way with sake and by the light of the moon and this whole thing. We have a special show tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So we have 3 shows tomorrow with return engagement to Dr. Ellie Phillips. She's a dentist who has been working with people for a long time and has come up with a little program, very unconventional, to heal gum disease, cavities, get rid of get the microflora in your mouth happy and not out of whack. And she recommended that you do this DNA saliva test, which I did, and I let's see, I didn't pass my test, Tony. I didn't study the night before. Is probably the problem, Jeez. So we're going to talk to Dr. Phillips. She's crazy. She's wild. I think you're going to like her, and she's got some pretty interesting ideas and very unconventional. Anyway, and then let's see. Michael Lustgarten, he's here on Thursday. He says a major cause of aging and age-related diseases is the microbial burden. The role of the gut microbiome and serum metabolism stuff. He's a Tufts University PhD dude. And then Trace Mayer is one of the foremost experts on cryptocurrencies. He's going to be here Thursday as well. So we got a great week for you. Trace began recommending Bitcoin when it was 25 cents. Today, it is over $4,000. Over $4,000. Tony, we put a show on the front page of One Radio Network. We interviewed a fellow by the name of Bruce Wagner up in New York, near you, and well, not kind of near you. And this show is from December 2010, and he was recommending Bitcoin, and it was 23 cents. And of course, we didn't buy any. Okay. another idea lost. It just lost it in the ethers. I don't know what happened. No, actually, I don't know. Quick story. A friend of mine and I each bought 500, right, when they were 50 cents, and they stole. Somebody stole them. Somebody cracked our bit wallet or whatever it was. I didn't even understand at the time. It was really the Wild West in Bitcoin, 7 years ago or 6 years ago. Do people into Bitcoins up in Canada?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's another thing that's coming out, too. I just got an email, and I think, this is just my speculation on it, I think what's happening is everyone's going to be switching over to these other ideas. The drawback with it is, okay, just like you said, Bitcoin popped up when it did, and nobody really took it seriously. They didn't. As a matter of fact, there was even speculation initially if it was even going to fly.
Right.
There was a lot of things going on, so there was not a lot of drive or excitement about it. Now that it's reached over $4,000 per coin, there's other things that are popping up, which can now be, again, another way to look at it. You don't know if these are scams or there's something legitimate going on, or just maybe replacing Bitcoin. So there's a lot of things that, that are happening out there that it's hard to put your finger on because you really don't know. I mean, this is something that's relatively new, and more countries and people from other countries are going with this because, okay, for my example, for me, if I have to buy something overseas, whether it's from China, India, Europe, or wherever, I have to use U.S. dollars. Nobody wants any Canadian currency.
Right.
The only thing Canadian currency is good for is in Canada or to wipe your backside with. That's about all it's good for.
Really? Oh.
So, it's worthless. I mean, it's a worthless currency. I mean, the only reason it's backed as high as it is because it's got oil and its largest trading partner is the United States. So there's that aspect of currency. But when you want to go buy something across the planet, they don't recognize the Canadian currency. They do recognize, however, the United States currency, since it is a global currency. So there's a lot of countries that are trying to get away from that because, okay, when I buy something, I have to buy it based on U.S. dollars, which means there's a 30% disadvantage to me when I'm purchasing something.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because you guys are like 70 cents, right?
Yeah, something like that.
To the dollar.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we have a 30% difference in the dollar. So right away, whatever I buy that I'm bringing to Canada is going to cost me 30% more, and then I have to deal with the tariffs and duties that can go along with these things. So,
right.
It's a pain in the butt. So the Bitcoin can actually maybe bypass that because you're probably more than likely paying in U.S. dollars when you're buying these coins. So it's going to give you that solid value. So there isn't that exchange factor that you got to deal with. So I can see where this has got a high level of attraction. When you're wanting to buy abroad or whatever.
Yeah, the thing is, Tony, that I think the 42.53 is in U.S. dollars. That's what it's worth. Wow, this morning, 4,250. Now, if you go on a thing and you want to buy them with Canadian dollars, which you can, then it's just going to be more, right?
Yeah, well, you got to figure. If it's worth $4,000, it's going to cost me $5,200 to buy it.
Right. Like we can Google how many Canadian CANAD, how do you spell it? CANADIAN dollars per Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be probably 30% over 4,200, huh, Tony? Yeah, that's right. Here it is. 5,000. What? One Bitcoin is 5,408 Canadian dollars.
So that means our dollar lost strength from last week, then, so it's worth less. So that's what I'm saying. So
right.
for us to buy stuff, it's even if I'm buying supplies, to make things for people, or they want to buy stuff and they order through me, I have to tag that 30% on top because, I mean, okay, when I'm making the bucket, for
Sure.
instance,
No, I understand. Yeah.
and that our costs are 30% more to make it per se than what it is in the United States to buy the same material. I've gone to Home Depot in the United States, and to buy the same wire I'm buying here, the wire cost me here about 178 bucks for 1,000 feet of 12 gauge wire.
Hmm.
For me to buy it in the U.S., it's about 65 bucks. Right off the bat, there's the difference
Wow.
just in cost. And then on top of that, I have to figure out the 30%, which brings it closer to 80, 85 by the time it's all said and done.
Hmm.
So, like I said, this is why you have the issue, and this is why I have to charge what I charge on this side of the creek because of the fact it costs
Sure.
me
Sure.
30%
Then,
more.
like you
So,
say, you guys pay, I guess, tariffs coming in and duties and stuff too,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Well, you just need to
free trade.
you just need to fire the queen and get yourself a Donald Trump.
Listen, I'm all for that idea. I mean, the problem is we have the bureaucracies here that want the queen.
Oh, you got
Think it,
another Trudeau, right? He's like a dynasty.
well, he's I won't say what he is because I can't use that language on
Don't
your
use that
show.
language on the show. Yeah. He's
But
definitely hooked
to
in,
be,
isn't he? Hey, Tony, are
well,
you
it's
seeing though that more as you look at things around the country that there's more nutritional products, say in India, China, or wherever you're going, that are you can pay in Bitcoin? Have you are seeing that?
I have not. I
No.
mean, it's sometimes it's offered, but again, this is where the catch 22 comes in on this. It's like you can buy volume, but again, are you going to need that much? So, so if you're going to use, for instance, if I'm going to use a Bitcoin for myself, I'm going to go buy something abroad. I may buy equipment or machinery or something to that nature where it'll help me in maybe making things or making my life easier as far as technology goes or whatever. But as far as buying supplements and things, I mean, I have to shop everywhere. I'll shop in the United States. I'll shop in China because majority of the products that we're seeing in, excuse me, the health food store today, the raw materials all come from China, irrespective of what anybody thinks. When I was working in a health food industry, when I was in the United States, we used to have companies come in and wine and dine us so that we would sell their products. So we would go sometimes to their facilities where they were manufacturing these supplements, and you'd see the big drums are made in China, made in China, made in China.
Huh.
So the majority of the stuff is coming from China. Where the problem lies isn't that it's coming from China. It's when they're processing these vitamins and they're adding these excipients, that's being done locally in the United States or wherever they're manufacturing these, or Canada. So this is where the problem lies. They have as well, when you buy stuff from them, they have all the documentation, the chemical breakdown, the MSDSs, whatever that we would have here. And in fact, some of their stuff is even cleaner and better than what we're getting locally, which is really a surprise when you think about it. But when you look at some of the manufacturing that's go on with this GMP that they brought in, means give more poison, because that's exactly what they've done. We start looking at some of these supplements and some of the excipients like the silicon dioxide and the titanium dioxide and the soys and the artificial natural flavoring agents and the aluminum. These are things that should never have been put in the vitamins in the first place. The excipients shouldn't even be there, but they are, and this is where it's coming in, is in the manufacturing of the products right here in the United States or Canada.
Hmm.
When I look at a lot of the products in Canada, I walk away from about 95% of them. They're useless. The only thing I suggest to people when they contact me, because I've been getting a lot more phone calls in regard to the nano poisoning and supplementation and what they should be getting and what they should be buying, from anything from the nano questions to the excipient questions. I actually show them, go to my site, read this, read that, and then you can see for yourself what's in it. You make your own decisions on this. But I said these are things you should be looking for in a vitamin that shouldn't be there. If it's in there, then you might want to reconsider buying the product, because if the excipient is in there, it's going to negate or neutralize a lot of the supplementation that's there. Think of it this way: when you're buying something that says 50 milligrams, okay, let's say you're buying a B complex, and you're buying something that says 50 milligrams of B1, B2, B3. B5, B6, choline, and inositol, and then you got maybe 400 micrograms of folic acid, 400 micrograms of B12. When you look at all that, if you actually you can actually buy the spoons for something, if you're making your own, and you can see what actually 50 milligrams looks like. It's not even a pinch between two fingers.
Yeah,
That's
just a
how
little
small
bit.
it is.
Yeah, they got these little spoons you can buy on Amazon, right? These
Right.
little, yeah.
So then when you're looking at, okay, let's say you've got 10 products with 50 milligrams. That's a 500 milligram amount. Then if you're getting a number 2 capsule, that will hold almost 700 milligrams if you pack the stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the other 100 milligrams? This is why. So when I explain that to people, and they begin to realize that a lot of these filling agents and these excipient agents are actually neutralizing some of the stuff they're telling them. I tell them, go buy the stuff pure. There's a lot of companies out there now, even in the United States, like Pure Bulk, for instance, and Peak Nutrition, where you can buy a lot of these products in completely pure. They're in a bag. There's no silica dioxide. There's no titanium. There's none of that crap in it. And you can start encapsulating yourself, which I prefer doing because now I have full control of how strong I want to make the product, how I want to combine it, if I want to make a liposome out of it, hydrogel, or just a simple capsule, and then again formulate it so I know exactly how much I'm putting, how much of each product is going into my capsule, and there's nothing in it to impede any absorption, and in fact, you get more out of that one pill than you would if you buy some of the stuff at the health food store. It's becoming a challenge today when you go into a health food store and you're reading the products. I mean, like even protein products. We talk about sometimes your MSM or your organic sulfur that you sell. Okay, one of the reasons why you're advocating this is because it doesn't have any excipient in it. Well, look at a lot of the protein powders today. It's a joke what is in a lot of them. Soy lecithin, aspartame, neotame, splenda, sucralose, and a whole bunch. And sometimes they're adding pea fibers and flax fibers, which actually the protein. You're getting a whey isolate or an egg protein or whey concentrate or whey hydrosolate. These are proteins that you're consuming that the amino profile will absorb very readily, either in a very quick way, like your isolates and hydrosolates, or in a very slow way, like your concentrates and egg protein. And depending on what you're trying to do, you can even mix them together so you get the quick uptake and the slow release, which is ideally what you want if you're bodybuilding or if you're training or for recovery and regeneration. So, but a lot of these products today, and from some of the big name brands in the industry, have a lot of crap in them. So I actually found one, whey protein, another one, other than the one you're selling. In the health, the one you're selling, you don't normally find it in the health food store.
No, they don't sell it right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but this one I actually found in a health food store, which surprised me when I looked at it. What do you know? A clean product,
Oh, yeah.
nothing in it but the whey.
But the whey,
this
yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
So
Tony Pantelleresco is here. Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com. We have a lot of interesting emails, and we're going to get to them all. Once again, the way to do it is Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Somebody wrote in last night, and this is pretty interesting, and told me about a little test they did to test if they have overgrowth of candida albicans, right? And they sent me a YouTube video, and I watched it. I shouldn't have watched it, but I watched it. And so these two people are on there, and they sound like they're pretty intelligent folks, and suggesting that if you spit in a glass, that the spit should float on top, and if it starts to sink and have little legs going down, that you actually have an overgrowth of candida. So this person said, well, I've done it 3 days in a row, and I got all these legs and it's sinking. So please ask Tony what he thinks about the test and what he thinks about what I can do to get my candida overgrowth under control. So candida albicans. So what's your take on that? What about this test? Have you ever seen this test?
Yeah, it's an old test.
Do you think it works?
Yeah, it's not what it's cracked up to being either.
You don't think so?
No, I know so. It's biofilm, and it's mostly a biofilm material that might even be on the teeth if he's got fillings or whatever. It can be mistaken as this is what they perpetrated before. It's same thing with the In order to test for more gallons, you would drink some grape juice or wine and do the spit test. And if you saw things moving in the wine after you spit, then you had. But this was initially Gwen Scott's initiation to get people to be aware of it. Now, I used to talk with Gwen Scott. I talked to her several times before she passed, and I discussed that with her. That test really wasn't that accurate, and she knew that too. But I mean, but at that time, it was so little known about nano poisoning or more gallons that. Everybody was like literally clutching at straws trying to get a handle on it. Okay, because the thing with that test is if you're using a grape juice or a wine.
Oh no, let's stick with candida.
Well,
I'm
going to go back to that in a second.
Okay.
If you're using the grape juice or the wine and you spit, the wine and the grape juice itself will have the material in it. So what you're doing is you're spitting out what's already in the wine and the grape juice. So it gives you a false negative.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with the spit test with the candida. If you've got any kind of mercury amalgams or the polymer material they're putting in there now, you are going to produce a biofilm in the mouth. And what you're seeing stranding down is actually bacteria, not a yeast. If you had a serious yeast overgrowth, you would smell like yeast. Yeah, that's one of the things you would notice, and you would be itching you would be scratching, especially near the genital area. But chances are what you've got is a biofilm buildup that's in the system from any kind of metals or any kind of excipients or anything that you might have been exposed to, especially if you've been eating a lot of bread, a lot of grain products, cereal products, anything.
So you don't think the spit thing that they're is viable because of all the other stuff we have going on in our bodies, perhaps?
Right, exactly.
So what if somebody knows that they have this overgrowth of candida? What do you talk to people about?
A lot of times I just tell them to use a copper solution.
Copper?
Copper with sulfur. Yeah, that a lot of times will knock it out. Again, the big thing there is the changing of the diet, number one.
Sure.
Eliminating all grain products, all pasta products, all cereal products, rice products, because these things have they've added nanometals to these things, and those metals will attract, and the sugar from what you're consuming will attract this kind of thing anyway. So you have to eliminate that, number one. Number two, then you have to start dealing with it, and some of the things that you can use like a copper vinegar mixture or a copper sulfur mixture or a copper zinc mixture. Yeah, copper is going to be a major player here in getting this down. You can use other things as well, but that seems to be a pretty powerful aspect. A lot of people are using the silver products that are being sold on the market today, which are all nano. And what's happening there is it's not knocking it out, it's actually propagating it further. So,
because it's nano.
Right.
Right. So how would you use, let's say, copper with our sulfur that we promote to go after
Mix it together.
Just mix it together.
Yeah, but the sulfur, you're producing a copper sulfate, a type of copper sulfate when you're doing this, and that is a pretty if you actually look that up and see how powerful that combination is. I mean, it'll knock out mold, it'll knock out algae in your body, it'll knock out yeast, it's a huge, powerful.
How would you know the proportions of that? Just doesn't matter.
Basically, you'd start off small. Anything like this is all going to be experimental because you're not going to see a lot of this in the health food industry. And unless you're playing with copper, then you're really not going to know what you're going to be doing. Basically, I suggest take 5 grams of the sulfur with 5 mils or 5 grams of the copper. Usually, I tell them get either the chlorophyll, like Bernard Jensen, because it's got a sodium copper component to it.
And you can put that right in with the sulfur, then that green stuff.
Mix it together, and down you go. Yeah,
drink it
down. Do about 5, and every 3 or 4 hours. This is the thing about these remedies. These are not something you're going to take once a day, twice a day. If you've got something like this, you've got to be on top of it all the time. So at the 3-hour window is what I normally suggest, because that seems, like I said, either 5 times a day or every 3 hours, because that seems to be, from my observations when we're helping people here, when they start to actually get on top of whatever. You might want to also start using things that have a high saponin content to it. Saponins are basically soap material that comes from certain plants like olive leaf, yucca.
Olive leaf's a good one, right?
Oh yeah, horse chestnut. These have they produce a high concentration of like a soap material that again goes after this kind of stuff and helps the body wash itself free of this stuff. You might want to use the copper in a liposome, like using sunflower lecithin with a copper. Now you got a phosphorus material that's going to take the copper component into this very core of the cell. So you have a lot of ways of doing this thing and dealing with this thing, but the number one thing is really you have to change the diet. If you're going to go out and someone's going to sell you this idea that you're going to be eating gluten-free bread. Gluten-free means genetically engineered. That's what it means, because you're taking a protein that's normally in that grain out of it. So basically what you've got left now is basically a complex carbohydrate sugar that doesn't work with the body well, and because you removed that aspect of it, you've altered its chemistry and how it's going to affect you. So these are things, again, not to get sucked into. Eliminate all breads, all grains, even the pseudo grains that they mentioned, like the quinoas, the millets, the buckwheat, the spelt. That's all got to go. If you're not going to do that, then everything's going to be moot.
So anything, these complex carbs feed this candida for this person, right? So you're kind of doing a kind of a fat and meat and vegetable, kind of a paleo-esque kind of thing, right?
A high fat, yeah. You have to use fats. The fats are going to repair the cells, the cellular damage that stuff is doing to you. And you have to understand that this is altering your genetic code as well. So you have to put things back in like zinc and copper, boron, iodine, manganese, because these are minerals that again either support the mitochondria, they support the cells, they support the organs, they help produce antioxidants in the body to again sustain and maintain your system. You may have to even use things like cesium chloride or potassium chloride, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, anything that has a chloride content to it, sodium chloride, to help, again, clean up the system, because chloride is a very powerful cleanser in the system as well, and it goes after stuff like this to help get rid of it. So, and it also will help in healing the infections that you may be dealing with a lot quicker too.
Many people like the Tony, the caprylic acid in coconut oil for candida stuff too.
The one thing I've seen about that, I've not really been seeing that really work of late. 10, 15 years ago, it was very popular. It was very successful. There's a company out there that has a product called lauricidin. And now this is also a type of monolaurin, but what they've done with it, which was interesting, is they added a glycerol component to it, which made it more effective on the cellular level. And that seems to help, again, with minimal candida infections, let's say in the vaginal area. A lot of women that I've had use it say that it does work as far as cleaning up a yeast in the vagina. So that's one that may work for some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but a lot of people that I have seen use it have said it has had a huge impact. So it's at most of your local health food stores. So what they did there, like I said, they took the monolaurin, which is another derivative of the coconut or bay leaf, the lauric acid, because you usually got caprylic acid, caprylic acid, and lauric acid that they extract from the coconut. And the caprylic acid, when you actually taste it, it actually tastes like soap. Yeah. So again, and that's essentially what it's doing. It's going on a cellular level and wiping or washing away the cells so that whatever's clinging to it, it can help eradicate and remove it. So this is some of the things that may work for some people. Again, it's all going to be contingent to what you're eating.
Yeah. What's the mechanism, Tony, in the body that are keeping it in balance? Say, let's see. So do we have different bacteria that eat and keep it kind of so the candida doesn't get overgrown, and with the right diet, it'll get back into balance?
That's a tough one because okay, the bacteria is usually there to keep it in balance. That's true. But because of the high level of metals that people have been consuming for a period of time, and a lot of the genetics that people have been consuming for a period of time, this has altered the yeast in the body. The yeast is normally there to help with the overflow that the body produces, so it helps keep that in check. So let's say you eat something, got too much of this or too much of that, it's there to remove it. But again, because of the genetics and because of deficiencies in those minerals I mentioned, manganese, zinc, copper, iodine, boron, it has proliferated. So to get that back in check, like I said, it is a chore because you're dealing with the mutation of this yeast as well. So you have that aspect of it. that you have to deal with. It's not just a simple yeast overgrowth anymore. It's more complex than that. It's more of a genetically engineered yeast that you've been consuming. It's because of the transgenics that we've been consuming has altered the yeast in the body.
Are they becoming like their own little monsters, their own little
Well, instead of
transformers?
consuming the excesses, instead of consuming the excesses, now it's consuming you.
Oh, good. Well, I always like to get eaten up. All right, Tony Pantalleresco is here, and we'll tell you all of Tony's contact information, and we'll take a little break here and promote a couple of things. Tony talked about the sulfur, and this is a good one. Dr. Stephanie Seneff, Senior Research Team, MIT, answers a question from one of our listeners.
There were certain things that would help us to clear these things out and help the body to begin heal.
I think sulfur. I think eating a great deal of sulfur-containing foods and also soaking in Epsom salt baths, because you need to beef up your sulfur supply in order to generally be able to fight, to allow your liver to heal. So you're sort of, once your liver can heal, then you can detoxify, So you really need to work on getting the liver healthy, and one of those crucial issues for that is the sulfur. Those enzymes are affected by all kinds of different toxic chemicals, and glyphosate prevents the body from disposing of those chemicals because of disrupting. Glyphosate actually really disrupts the sulfur cycle in a big way. It interferes with sulfate transport. Of course, it doesn't allow the activation of vitamin D, and vitamin D protects you from sulfate flushing through the kidneys.
Sulfur, sulfur, sulfur. We love it. Pure organic sulfur. 3 prices, United States, Canada, and worldwide. Click and order 24/7 right here. OneRadioNetwork.com. Here's physicist, biologist, chemist, Dr. Gerald Pollack on far infrared saunas.
Infrared energy is what builds this fourth phase of water. And the idea of a sauna, you go in and you sweat and you receive this infrared energy and you feel great after you come out. I felt the same, and so have so many people. And most of us think, well, it's just some sort of psychological issue, and it might be. However, experimentally, we know that infrared energy builds the fourth phase. Your cells should be filled with this fourth phase, but we tend to be somewhat dehydrated and missing some of this fourth phase. And so what happens is if you subject yourself to infrared, the infrared is absorbed by your body, absorbed by your cells, and it converts ordinary water to fourth phase water, and then you feel better.
How cool is that? Structuring the water in your body with the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. That's pretty cool, Patrick. Oh, we have it on sale right now through the month of August 2017. The Relax Far Infrared Sauna, great price, delivered continental U.S., $9.95. Are you outside continental U.S.? Email me for extra shipping. Otherwise, order away right now, $9.95 delivered, and our regular delivered price is $11.95 on OneRadioNetwork.com. Know the Source on One Radio Network.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I just made that up.
You can go to youtube.com
Yeah.
and you can type in Herbs Plus Beadworks, or you can type my name, Tony Pantelleresco, and it'll take you to about 150 plus videos that we have done,
Whoa.
where we show you how to make your own stuff, and more is coming in regard to even the energy devices, where I'm showing you how to make now. We got a bucket, we got a triangle for those of you who have been exposed to high levels of nano poisoning, where we show you how to make these things, and the repulsor units and grounding units that you can make to help yourself to minimize any of the toxic effects of the nano poisoning that you're doing. We also have a website at augmentinforce.com, where we have a variety of different, all kinds of information, scripts of the show, things that have recipes. So it's a free site, access whatever you like. It's all for free. Do not need your firstborn or your driver's license or a credit card.
Oh,
Just go
you
and get it.
don't? Oh, gosh. I really missed that
And
one.
we have one more thing, the independz.podomatic.com. This is a broadcast site where I take my shows like I do here with Patrick, and put them on there so that everyone can access the different sites and different places I go to and some of the information I talk about. And a lot of times I am dealing with the current issues going on with chemtrails, nano poisoning, frequency devices, targeted individuals, which I'm adopting now these days because more and more people who are hit with this are contacting me. So again, it's a site that will keep you current on what's going on with research and development in the aspects of the nano and how it's going to impact you, especially with the new 5G coming out. When that gets activated, a lot of you are going to have outbreaks. So again, you need to be aware of what's going on and how to protect yourself.
And it's good with 5G because if you have mercury fillings, you can just pick up the internet. So it's good.
Oh, it's going to go past the fillings, Patrick. It's going to go right into the hypothalamus.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's going to go right directly to the brain. This is what people don't realize, that this can now go into the brain and activate the brain. You won't even have to do anything with the phone. It'll turn it on just through contact from through the brain. So a lot of the shielding devices that they've got out there today, you may want to start considering. I got a pouch that we sell at the store. It's got a divided pouch, and if you put it in one part of the pouch where you completely can cover your cell phone, so you can't get a signal in. What it does is
that's pretty
it'll
good,
look for
right?
it.
That's what you want, right? Yeah.
That's what you want. And then you have another part of that pouch where the signal can come in only one way. So you put the shielding against your body where the phone is sticking out away from you. So when the signal comes, instead of it going through your body or through whatever, it now has to go around and find the signal. So these are things that you might want to, even yourself, might want to start carrying on your market or your store, because these are things you're going to have to seriously start to consider because of the nature of these frequencies that are coming in.
They're getting stronger.
Well, we're already an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Our DNA is resonating all the time, and with the nanoparticles that we've been consuming and building up, it acts as an amplifier to these frequencies. I get targeted individuals calling me all the time, screaming in pain, because they're being hit with a frequency from either a tower or phone or whatever, and because they're so saturated with these components in the body, they're hypersensitive to those frequencies. It has evolved. In the last 40 or 50 years, the frequency concept has evolved. And initially, when people were hearing the frequencies, they were prognosed with tinnitus. They didn't have tinnitus. They were actually hearing the antennas they were putting up for AM and FM radio back in the 50s and 60s. Over the course of time, the condition has gotten worse because the signals have gotten stronger. So when people contact me, what do you got for tinnitus? I tell them nothing because you don't have tinnitus. But if you do have a situation going on with the ear, you might want to incorporate more phosphorus. So as soon as I explain them what's going on, I have them do the search on the site, the antennasearch.com, to see how many antennas they have around them. And then when they tell me some wild number like 250.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Our friend Brandon Amalati has come across some products that he's been researching for about a year called Blue Shield. They're out of Australia. And he said it's really good stuff. They got 3 different things you put in your home, carry on you when you go around. And also, I think something for the phone. We're going to talk to him, Tony, tomorrow at, let's see, I think it's 10 o'clock. And we're going to be talking to him about these new products, and we're going to offer them. We're going to put it on the show. We'll see. there's a lot of good stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of really bad stuff. There's probably a lot of stuff that doesn't work.
I'll tell you.
You
I'll tell
got to
you
just be careful. Know the source and.
Yeah, I'll tell you another place for you to check out too. It's in Canada, 2.com. A buddy of mine, George, he's the one that actually got me to look at this stuff. And you can go on his site, and he's got a full variety of things that you can put on your home. You can paint, you can wear, even the glass shielding you can put on your windows to, again, block frequencies from coming through the glass. So he's another guy that you might want to...
Yeah, maybe we'll have him on the show. What's the name?
2.com.
Like WTWR?
No, two with a dot and then com.
Oh, like 2.
That's 2.com, yeah.
That's clever. That's clever. I like that. Yeah.
He's a bit of a whiz. I mean, I made contact with him, so he had to come check out what I was doing. I was showing him with the pyramids and stuff I was working with, and he was scratching and said, I don't know how this was working. He says, this is really unusual, and you're getting this. He said, this is awesome. So he saw me make the bucket, and he asked me if he could make it. I said, sure, go for it, And he's also got the bucket that he's making. He's modified it a certain way. I've made some modifications of my own, different ones. So we sometimes compare notes, help each other out. And so, again, he's a really good guy. And you might want to talk to him as well because he's come up with some good ideas of his own. He's the one that actually got me hooked on these pouches. I've actually bought the actual mesh that you can buy. It's just the material. So I'm going to make a poncho out of it using Velcro so that I can wear this thing underneath my... Because when you're in front of your computer is a monitoring device that can actually hit you with a frequency. And because I spend so much time in front of it now, I've got the shielding material on, and I've got a copper aluminum plate behind it just to cover my heart. There is actually a patent on your monitor that it can actually act as a frequency device, and it can actually target you and hit you. So we're looking at that thing. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, isn't that curious how that works? Man. Yeah, it's tough. It's a brave new world out there. As you know, August 14th, 2017. Adam Bergstrom, Tony, is on our show once a month. You know Adam, or heard of him. He says, applause for Tony, smiley face. 99% of all vitamins and supplements are nanopolluted, either as the active nano product itself or delivered in nanopolymers, nanofilms, nano layers, and or nano dispersion of both. He says nano is really not an emerging technology. Nano emerged more than a decade ago while we weren't looking.
Actually, it started in the 60s, and they brought it to fruition about 15 years ago. And this is the thing about that. It has never been tested. And when they did do the test just with the silica, they found it was causing genetic anomalies, DNA damage. It was causing birth defects. It was causing mental problems. It's interesting when I look back, in history. Because after getting hit with my own version, getting hit with nano poisoning and being targeted myself, I had to start looking at this thing, and it's like you peel the onion, and as you peel it, and you go layer by layer by layer by layer, it took me all the way back to 1960, and then I noticed some patterns. Okay, in 1960 they initiated the silicon dioxide in the grains. By 1968, 1970, fibromyalgia, restless leg, autoimmune disorders, lupus, mental issues started to happen within a decade. Then the following decade, I noticed other issues were starting to manifest and becoming more pronounced. And then in the 1980s, I saw other things. And then I saw that whenever they brought in something, whether it was a transgenic seed, a chemical like the glyphosates or the organosilicodes or the atrazines, or whether they started incorporating more towers, antennas, radio frequencies issues, when they started bringing in the microwave, when they started, even with the prescription drugs, and some of the things that were in the prescription drugs other than the chemical itself, you start to see patterns of where we started breaking down. Even our teeth. I did a show Saturday, and I asked generations, the people from the 50s generation, how many of you still have your teeth? And I said, a lot of reasons why you don't have your teeth is not necessarily because you had a bad diet or you ate sugar or whatever. The sugar is not the issue. The sugar was the catalyst after the teeth were already damaged by another material. And that other material was the silica in the grains and the breads and whatever. It basically wore down the enamel and embedded into the into the gum line, and then started to assemble, breaking down the infrastructure of your teeth and your jaw. And the other thing that happened was the vaccines. When they gave us those polio vaccines, it altered our genetic code. And so the codes that would have been there to keep your teeth healthy and viable, and on top of that, the fluoride that they added to the water, this is what caused the major damage. It wasn't what they've been telling us, And then brushing with the fluoridated toothpaste further wears down and damages the teeth. Doesn't help clean it. Doesn't help heal it in any way, shape, or form. So when you look at all this, and you look at it and you see how over decades you're accumulating so much stuff, over time, pollutants, frequencies, genetics, then you begin to wonder what's happening with our species as a whole. And this is not just the United States or Canada. This is now becoming a global, not becoming, let me rephrase that. This has been a global issue. The only difference is we have not been hearing about it. What we're hearing is Europe is not growing genetically modified food, which is not accurate. Australia and New Zealand are pure and pristine. That's not accurate either, So, because I'm getting people calling me from Australia all the time, and a lot of them have been hit with the nano. I had a woman call me last night, actually, 2 a.m, discussing what's been going on in her region, how bad they're spraying, and how people now are walking around with their mental faculties completely displaced, and how they're being targeted. So it's not just a local phenomenon anymore. It's everywhere. We're just not hearing about it.
Tony Pantelleresco, 10 minutes before the hour. Here's an email from Mark. He's in Guam, a little island in the South Pacific out in Guam. Hey, can Tony recommend a soak for someone who has been exposed to mold?
Soap.
A soak, like a bath
A
soak.
soak. Oh, copper sulfate. Put copper sulfate and vinegar and water and soak. Still there? Hello?
No, I left. Sorry, I left for a second.
Yeah,
that was a quick
I lost
answer.
you.
So copper. So so you could do the
sulfate
Epsom
and-
salts maybe, and then put some copper in it, or maybe
You can do that too, sure.
because you don't
Or
want
you
to
can
you
add-
don't want to soak with our sulfur. It's just too expensive to be dumping in a bathtub.
Oh yeah, I mean
You could do Epsom salts, right, Tony, and then
yeah,
add some copper to it.
add copper to it, or you can even add a little boron with that, so that again you get a better effect with that. Yeah, but again, and if you got mold, avoid foods that can increase mold in your body. You have to, again, it boils down to diet and as well. So it's not just an external thing you're dealing with. The mold that's there in your system came from inside. Whatever may have triggered it is now be able to embed itself inside you. So you have to knock it out as well. So any kind of, like I said, copper zinc combination, copper salt combination. Salt is a very key player in, again, helping keep these things down to a minimum. So when they tell you don't eat salt, disregard that stupidity, because they're basically disarming one of the minerals that your body could use, actually 2 salts, to help, again, clean this kind of thing up. Vinegar wipes out mold. So does white wine. So if you want to drink white wine and white vinegar and add a little copper to it, this will go a long way removing it out of the system.
Vinegar wipes out mold. So let's see. So apple cider vinegar does not feed like fungus among us?
But that's got the bacteria still in it. So it may cause that to proliferate. But white vinegar is distilled. There's nothing in it except the acetic acid, which is what you're looking at to break down the mold.
Okay.
So again, if you take the mold with, take the vinegar with the copper, you got a dynamic duo because they both knock out mold.
Oh, I knew that. I didn't. My wife writes, Mark, let's see. My wife has 3 newer irregularly shaped moles on the side and bridge of her nose, and we're worried that they could be like skin cancer, but we both don't want to get anywhere near conventional MDs and that whole system. Can Tony suggest any ideas of stuff to put on to make them go away? He says here, iodine, ozonated olive oil, frankincense oil, clay, baking soda, and if so, how to do that.
You can use a clarified iodine, and what you do that is you can buy regular iodine and add either citric acid or ascorbic acid to it, and it'll clarify it, so it'll be crystal clear. And then what you do is you start coating the molds with the iodine. So put one layer on, let it dry, put another layer, do about 7 layers. The other thing you can also do is you can use an essential oil combination of the citrus, any of the lemon, orange, grapefruit, tangerine, orange, any of those, you can apply it on there as well, and it should also break it down. You may want to put enzymes on it, which may burn a wee bit, but you can do that as well, and start incorporating more enzymes. And again, watch your diet. Watch the diet. This just didn't happen overnight. This is an accumulation of things that you've been exposed to. So you may want to again reevaluate what you're doing. Or what you're consuming, or what you're being exposed to. If it's but these things should break it down, get rid of it.
What did you do to the iodine to go over that again? So you have like the regular iodine, either the Casey or Lugol's, whatever one you use, and then what do you do?
We're clarifying it, because if you put iodine on your skin, it leaves a spot, right?
Right.
So basically, by clarifying it, it doesn't leave any mark. So basically, what we're doing is we're adding ascorbic acid to it. So then, when you add the ascorbic acid to it, it actually clarifies the iodine. So it's crystal clear.
Really?
So when you're coating it, then you don't see any dark brown spots or whatever dark spots on the face. So you can apply it on, and then because you're layering it on there, it will penetrate and permeate. I'll tell you an interesting thing about molds that we found. Anyway, is a lot of times those molds have underneath them a high concentration of fluorine and quantum dots and even bots. On a nano scale, and once that starts to release, don't be surprised if you see what appears to be like a sand-like material or metallic material will come oozing out of this stuff. And what happens is the nano literally clusters and causes the skin to die, and then you got the sugar and proteins that get damaged, and then you start producing these things. So once they start letting go, do not be surprised what will come out of them.
Okay. So if you would add like a liposomal C or just ascorbic acid to an iodine, it just turns it clear?
Well, if you just put the C in it, yeah. If you take some iodine,
I'll be done.
Just take some iodine.
Yeah.
Even citric acid will clarify it.
Citric will. Okay. I never. Okay, that seems fascinating because it's such a dark, kind of a really staining color. That's amazing.
We did a video on it, and I did a show on it, and I was up in Calgary, and the guy brought his iodine. He says, I tried it, I couldn't get it to clarify. I said, okay. So we poured it in a container, and I put these vitamin C in there, and it clarifies. He says, son of a gun, how'd you do that? I said, we didn't put enough in.
It just goes clear. So what does iodine do to the little molds? Does it just eat them away?
Again, it breaks down. It breaks it down. Again, remember, iodine is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, antimicrobial,
anti-everything, huh?
Yeah. So,
pretty cool.
And again, that's the easiest way of doing it because, like I said, you can clarify it. Nobody knows that you even got it on, basically. So as it's breaking it down, you're out there and you don't have to worry about having, brown spots all over your face kind of thing.
Now, what's the difference, Tony Pantelleresco, between, say, a mole, a raised little thing, or just a brown liver age kind of spot? What's the difference? The same thing, essentially?
Yeah, the liver spots, well, the mold is basically an accumulation of toxins that are now protruding out of the skin, where a brown spot could be just a simple breakdown of protein and sugar, which can be then damaged by sunlight. Not necessarily a liver spot, it can be, but sometimes it's just simply what it is, a damaged skin area.
Which is why some people, they get them when they get out in the sun too much.
Right.
Yeah. When they're getting
because again, they have a sugar content in their system. It's very high. It's then fusing with the proteins in their body, and then when the sun hits it, it just causes the damage, and then they have these spots, and then they wonder why they have these spots.
Oh, okay.
That's because whenever you see those spots, just think this is where sugar has accumulated in your system.
Sugar. All forms of sugar, then. Everything from brown rice to honey.
Yep.
Right.
You got to remember, we do need sugar,
sure,
but we are eating so much of it. I forget what they say the average American consumes,
it's
like 50
like
or
crazy.
65 pounds.
It's like 50
a year.
pounds. Yeah, I know. It's
a year.
You and I probably eat about 1 pound,
You probably don't even eat that, I bet you. I tell you, as I've gotten older, I have noticed that I still crave sugar, but not like I used to. And again, the amount I'm eating is like minuscule by comparison. But when I was younger, I was pounding it back because I was into sports. So
Sure.
you were using that sugar for that quick energy. You go jogging, riding a bike, whatever, and you're downing a sugar drink just so you can keep keep the momentum or whatever. And we're looking at things hindsight. Think of this, Patrick. I'm going to throw a perspective out at you. Okay, because we were exposed to silicon dioxide way back, in the 60s. Remember when we used to drink Coca-Cola,
Yes.
Pepsi Cola,
Yes.
RC Cola?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you remember in those components they had a high concentration of phosphoric acid and citric acid. And I was looking at that the other day, and I was deducing, these pops didn't really need to have those acids in there, but why were they in there? And then I thought, well, the silica will only get into the system with either using a stylic acid, which breaks it down, or a phosphoric acid, which can transport it. Now, one of the things that silica does, because it does assemble in itself on its own without even a electrical charge, because it's just what it does. You can go to what do you call those places? A hobby shop, and you can buy a crystal growing component, where you can grow your own crystals, and usually they're silica. And if you put them in a container and you add the acids to it, it will actually start to form a crystal. I've done it here. I've been growing my own crystal for 2 years now. It's a copper salicylic crystal, and I've got all these spires inside. It's about 2 inches, 3 inches high. I got another one going out with copper and gold. But this thing will grow without a charge. It's just because that's what it naturally does. So I thought about the phosphoric acid. What that would have done is that would have transferred that component into the skeletal structure, which would have tried to attach and break down in its assembling and growing. And this is why a lot of people were having serious problems with bone issues. We never had osteoporosis back in the 50s. Never heard about it.
No, and we drank our share of Coke and Pepsi, but I would conjecture that the little Coke bottles that we used to get, I think they were a nickel. Can you imagine? A nickel and a little Coke machine, the small bottles, the real deal.
Yeah.
And compared to what is sold as Coke today, probably nothing, not even close to the same product. Not even close.
You couldn't drink. Okay, when you were kids, you're stupid, right? You take a bottle of Coke or Pepsi and try to guzzle it down in one shot. That would burn all the way down.
It was too strong. I mean, it was
strong. And that's what I'm saying. It would have broken down the skeletal structure because you had two acids in there that would have reacted to whatever was inside. And so a lot of the teeth issues was also tied to drinking soda pop from in that era of time. And then on top of that, the fluoride and everything else. But when you're looking at that chemistry, the phosphoric acid, and what it was actually doing, weakening the skeletal structure, which would have allowed that silica to actually permeate more into the skeletal system. This is where a lot of the chronic pain issues had started. Again, a decade later is when you start seeing it. So I look at a lot of things that we were exposed to, and the only thing I can attribute at this point, I mean, a lot of us got wise and started using vitamins and supplements back then which were real, didn't have all this crap in it. We came from a line of parents that were closer to the genetic code. It wasn't until we were born in this side of the Atlantic, a lot of us, that our genetic code started getting altered with, again, not only the food, but the vaccines and the fluoride in the water and so on and so on.
Well, that's just so the aliens will get to know, they'll know us when they come down and see us. They say, oh.
Well, they'll know us and they say, oh, look, food. look at all the sugar dinner.
let's eat these people. Okay, we got to do a station break here. Hold on a second.
We are listener supported. One Radio Network. We talk about your health, wealth, and well-being on OneRadioNetwork.com. Once again, here's Patrick.
Well, if somebody comes down and starts chewing on my leg or my foot, I just hope it's a girl and she's cute. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Just chew away. Just chew away. Tony Pantelleresco talking about aliens eating your feet, but other than that, we're pretty sane. Good luck with that. Herbs Plus Speed works on YouTube, and then augmentedforce.com. Tony P's every second Monday of the month. We take a lot of emails and cover a great bit of territory. Patrick at oneradionetwork.com is my email. Here's one for you, Tony. Let's see. What are some suggestions Tony would offer to a person who's having issues properly digesting fats, even healthy fats from coconut oil, cow milk butter, maybe avocados? They experience gas and burning in the intestines when eating most fats, and when they eat cheese, on the skin on their face expresses pimples and take a very long time to heal.
Well, what are you eating with the fat, number one? If you're just eating fats, then what I suggest people to do is take a teaspoon of white vinegar and water and drink it, or a tablespoon. Any vinegar will work, but I usually suggest the white vinegar primarily because it's affordable, and it's accessible, and you can get it anywhere. And take a teaspoon about a half hour after you, especially fats. You might want to also incorporate sunflower lecithin. It may be something to do with the bile production in the liver. Maybe overloading the liver, and you might want to start using things like taurine, which again works with the bile. And you may want to look at things like B5, which will help, and acetyl L-carnitine or L-carnitine, which can help again regulate the fat in the system. So again, you can break it down. You may need to be taking an enzyme, like I said, lipase, to help you process it until you adjust to the fats. And the other thing that nobody looks at, the fat itself that you're consuming, let's say it's coming out of a bottle, out of a health food store, 9 chances out of 10 it's going to be rancid before you even buy it. So especially the omega-3s. I don't even encourage you eating flax or fish oils today because of the high level of pollutants in the fish oil and the rancidity. And fish oils have been tested in 16 different countries, and they've all said the same thing. There isn't one fish oil product out there that isn't rancid. So if you're looking at the flax, again, that's another one that has a high level of rancidity to it as well, so you may want to avoid them altogether. The fats I normally encourage people to utilize, especially in today's times, because of the cellular decay and damage, is omega-6s and saturated fat, and they've been telling you that you got too much omega-6. I'm telling you don't have enough. So you may, because of what we're exposed to today. So again, those are the fats you should use, like for instance lard, tallow, butter, coconut oil, ghee, MCT oil, lanolin. These are your saturated fats. Things like avocado have omega-9s. If you can find a decent olive oil that hasn't been counterfeited, and you know for sure it hasn't been counterfeited, you can even take that by a teaspoon, which will also has in it oleic acid, which then converts to oleamide, which acts as a very powerful antidepressant. Sunflower oil also has oleic acid. So for those of you who are suffering depression, you may want to start using a teaspoon of that, or get straight oleic acid or oleamide to help with your depression. It does attach to the GABA receptors. So this will help a lot. Instead of taking a benzo, you take oleamide.
Okay.
These are things that you can try to do. Make sure that the fat itself isn't rancid. Cheese, you may need to use a full spectrum enzyme because you have both protein and fat in that. And again, make sure what you're eating is a real cheese and not something that has wood fiber mixed with it, or titanium dioxide and some other crap, because some of these cheeses do have that material.
I was trying to cut down on wood fiber, so that's good to know. Yeah. How could they possibly put wood fiber in cheese? I mean,
it's a binding agent, just like they do in your vitamins, Patrick.
Oh, good. Patrick, the second part of this fellow's question, his name is Juan. Patrick has some products that he's promoting from Gary Hanna that are monoatomic: silver, gold, copper, and magnesium. They are not a nano. And he wants to know, can Tony please list some benefits of possibly using this monatomic gold either topically or internally?
Well, I mean, go do your research. Seriously. I mean, there's enough information out there on these colloidal products. If they're colloidal, use them. If they're not, don't. That's simple. I'll keep it very brief because everyone contacts me. Well, I read about this, nano, this. Well, if it's nano, don't use it. If it's a metal, if it's on a metal level, if it's on a nano level and it's a metal, do not use. Now, if you're trying to figure out what these things can do, there is ample research on them. Majority of the time, they're boosting the immune system or they're supplying the cells with some sort of nutrients. So go do the research on that. I mean, you need to, again, not just rely on me as somebody who's informed. You need to also learn to inform yourself and teach yourself and be able to distinguish BS from the reality. So.
Right.
But that's simple in a nutshell.
I can guarantee you listening that these these products that we're promoting, colloidal, gold, silver, and copper, and magnesium and selenium, are monoatomic. They're not nano. They're very, very, very much, a billion times smaller than nano, and they're just clear. So and then you can just Google the benefits of gold, and there's a lot of benefits of using these things if you have a good product to use. But they got to be, don't make sure they're not nano, otherwise, not good. Okay, let me grab another one here. Question for Tony from Nanette in Florida. I'm not bald, but like my hair to grow and look better. What would be good to put on the hair scalp for hair growth, and what supplements or food can you take? From Nanetta in Florida. Sounds like a lady wants to get thicker, stronger, more hairy hair.
Okay, you can apply onion juice on the scalp.
Whoa, onion, wow.
Okay. Yeah, cut it 50-50. So if you juice an onion, whatever volume you get, also add to water, dilute it a little bit because it will burn the heck out of you. You can apply it to the scalp, let it sit, and then afterwards wash it. You can also take the onion juice orally as well. It's the sulfur content you're looking for to produce the keratin that feeds the hair. You can also use things like gelatin or collagen. They will both also help with hair growth. You can also use other sulfur-based products like MSM, acetylcysteine, cysteine, methionine, taurine, alpha-lipoic acid. These will all contribute to hair growth as well. You may want to be looking at iodine if the thyroid is off, which can also cause a diminishment of hair. You may want to start using some form of iodine, but that's probably pretty much in a nutshell. Again, avoid your grains, avoid your bread, avoid anything that you know that may be derived from some form of transgenic or epigenetic material that can cause genetic rewrite in your body.
I wonder if some of these things are causing a lot of these kids to think that they're you said transgender or something like that.
Yeah,
Is there any connection to that, do you think?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. When you're looking at, like I said, when you're looking at this stuff, you start peeling the onion back, and you start looking at the term transgender. Well, it comes from a transgenic seed. Well, guess what? That's what they've been planting in the fields for the last 50 years. It has taken 5 generations for them to corrupt the genetic code with these transgenic materials. Every time some doctor or some researcher or some university science has exposed the transgenics and what they cause, the tumors, the dysfunction, the death of the generation afterwards, the malforming of the males. Right now, I can say unequivocally that the male species on this planet is being subjected to extinction. When we're looking at nanosilver, titanium dioxide, cadmium that males are exposed to, this literally shreds, and I mean shreds, the seminal tubes in the testicles so that your body can't produce the testosterone because your testicles are constantly being shredded and damaged, and your body's in that repair state all the time. So it makes you very dysfunctional, even as a male, because you'd be low in testosterone. So then you're running to a doctor who's giving you a testo gel or some testosterone shot to improve your blood levels of testosterone because you're no longer producing them because you're being damaged. The women are also being exterminated. The ones I'm seeing that are the biggest targeted females are being wiped out are the ones who were born in the 50s. They're being exposed to high levels of cadmium as well, high levels of aluminum, which is causing a lot of adverse effects with the metalloestrogens attaching to the receptor sites. And a lot of women I am talking to today are starting to see mutations occur in their bodies, and a lot of times it's coming from that era of time. So when we're looking at what's going on today in regard to transgenics, epigenetics is another interesting study or interesting science. Epigenetics is basically when you come into the planet, you have your genetic code. Then based on the environment you've been put in, that environment can now start altering your code so that the next generation that comes along will have either a dysfunction or an abnormality because of what you were exposed to and how it would have altered your genetic code. So there's a lot going on a genetic level, and then adding frequencies and whatever. So when you're looking at all this, transgenic is a result, the transgender is a result of the transgenic, and the transgenders need to have a lawyer to litigate for them to take these companies to court for reparations and damage, excuse me, to their, because they're going to be forever going to a doctor until there's a way to reverse the abnormality that has occurred in their system.
But it's really spooky when you think about it. We of course, we've heard about this whole concept of eugenics, for the last 25 years. That there's a group of mass force of people that want to thin out the population, the useless eaters. And I suspect if you do enough research, you probably would say, yeah, well, I think that's going on. And it probably is. It's planet Earth, I don't tell you what. It's weird.
Well, look at the males. Look at the males compared to us.
The fertility rates. I've read some statistics. It's crazy how bad it is. Just amazing.
Look at us, just us alone. When you and I grew up, we were lean muscle. We're in sports. We're doing we're running around, riding a bike, skateboard, whatever we were doing. We were outgoing, active, whatever. We grew up and we were solid. Okay, you look at the males today, they wiggle when they walk. Okay, the only things they used to wiggle when they walk were young girls that we grew up with. Today, the boys are wiggling when they walk, and they have high levels of cortisol built up, high levels of mutations that are showing. They're like 5 feet by 5 feet. They got a stomach that starts from their chin and goes down to their testicles. They can't even see their testicles. So, this is the male population. The females, I'm noticing, are now bigger, are more muscular. I saw a couple gals the other day walk by. I said, holy cow, they look like I used to.
Muscles, huh?
Except they got some... Well, other than the fact that they had high beams, that was the only difference. But, they were very packed with muscle. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't this an interesting anomaly? I'm seeing the guys having the wiggle and the jiggle when they walk, and I'm seeing the gals having the stature and the firmament of a male from my time. So when I'm looking at this, again, we're seeing this transgenic thing taking place. And again, I'm seeing this as a male species being eradicated. The only reason why they're keeping the male species around is because they need to seed the next generation. But once that has happened, and a baby has been sired from the woman, then all of a sudden you start seeing the males starting to go down by the wayside, and they're only needed for a short period of time. They don't want the males around because the institutions that are in place want to control the children and want to control what's in there, what they believe and what they think, whatever. So this is what I'm seeing at an alarming rate, and it's not just, again, North America. This is going on everywhere. Everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Tony Pantelleresco, Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com. Tony and I both have our tinfoil hat on this morning, so hope that's okay. Email us if you'd like to join the show, Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Previously with Dr. Charles Gant, MD, about, sulfur.
I just wanted to say, Patrick, that I heard during the break talking to Dr. Stephanie. I'm a big fan of hers.
Are you really? She's great. This sulfur transferase thing and the glyphosates, then there's also a genetic predisposition to this as well?
Yes.
Oh, and that could complicate matters, too, for those on GMO foods, huh?
Exactly. But now that we're in this toxic age with the glyphosate and the massive sulfur deficiencies, and generally I recommend a little MSM, 500 milligrams, twice a day for just about everybody, just to get some basic organic sulfur on board.
Do you feel like it helps them to get some of this yuck stuff out and clean out the trash?
Well, that's the
whole point. Huh?
Well, I can see that sulfur is a conjugator of toxins. Sulfur transferase transfers the sulfur. Sulfur has a love affair with heavy metals and other toxins. So, I saw that right from the beginning, and so I just assumed that a little bit of sulfur could help just about anybody.
Well, maybe you should take a little every day. You can click and order Pure Sulfur right on the front page of OneRadioNetwork.com.
I've been taking One World Way for several years and experienced healing for a severe intestinal problem. A car accident and the deployment of an airbag caused 2 breaks and crushed bone in my left wrist. My arm swelled, yet pain was minimum. At one point, it was obvious to the eye that the bone was misaligned, and x-rays confirmed the break. Surgery was immediately scheduled. Upon awakening, the doctor entered and told me I was a very unusual case. He said that when he opened up my wrist, he expected to see raw, mangled, bruised, brown meat. Instead, the tissue was healthy and pink and even right next to the broken bone. It was pretty. Yes, he actually said I had pretty tissue. During the 3 weeks between the break and the surgery, I became obsessed with taking One World Whey. During that time, I was taking it 3 times a day. It seemed my body just craved it. It all beautifully healed in record time with no scar tissue.
Click and order on the One World Whey banner ad right here at OneRadioNetwork.com. That's OneRadioNetwork.com.
This whey protein is going to cost you a little bit more than the things you see at the hippie food store or maybe at Amazon, but it only costs a little more to go first class. We know where it comes from. There's actually seriously Amish cows, grass-fed. No yuck stuff in there, and it's really nicely formulated, and it's put into the container as low temperature as you could possibly do. It's essentially raw, but they can't call it raw because it's not raw if they put it into a container. It's a great whey protein. You can get a 1 pounder, I think about $44, and then 5 pounders, and try vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. It's a lovely product. People just like it a lot. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and unsweetened, unflavored whey. If you know much about aloe, real aloe, you can Google it and dink around and go into YouTube and just start to explain it. It's a pretty magical plant, and we came across a doc in Florida who has this fresh frozen aloe. It's really the only one that does it the way he does it. He just takes all of the meat right out. They fillet it by hand, all of the meat right out of the aloe. And it's a special kind of aloe that has been kind of used for a long time. He got turned on to this company from a fellow about 40 years ago, and eventually he took over the company. Really nice man, Dr. Michael Haley. He's a chiropractor in Florida, great guy. And they sell this aloe through the mail frozen. So it's fresh and frozen. And then what you do is if you get a couple of containers, 58-ounce containers, that's the minimum. You can put, one on the counter and defrost about 8 ounces of it. You pour that into a glass, put that in the fridge, and then put the rest back in the freezer, because it only lasts about 5 to 7 days after it's thawed out. I mean, it's not bad, but it loses a lot of its juice because it's fresh. It's a really fresh product. You cannot buy an aloe out there in the world without being cooked, or I don't know what they do to it, sodium benzoate, and they do a lot of stuff to it. But this tastes like, I bought a whole 4-gallon container, and I bought 9 different 58-ounce empty plastic BPA-free containers, and then you just let it all thaw out and then put it in there, and I have it in a deep freeze, and I'm on my 7th one. You talk about a good thing for your tummy and intestines and forget about it. Aloe. This is Stockton Aloe. Click on the front page. There's a banner right below the video, right above the front page, the top of the page. That banner, but I think it's a banner, will take you to a little special they have where you get 2 58-ounce containers and a free nice little product for your face, aloe, and try it. It'll come in frozen. It'll be kind of halfway frozen by the time you get it, and that's fine. Pour out what you want and then refreeze the rest. It's 100% pure, fresh frozen aloe gel. I think it's the only one on the market that does it like they do it, and we're promoting it right here.
Know the Source on One Radio Network.
Know the source indeed. How important is it? Well, I'll tell you.
I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. I love the flowers. I love the daffodils. I love the fireside when the lights are low. Boom diada, 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 boom. I love the ocean. I love the open sea. I love the forest. I love the bummer bass. I love the stars above when night turns into day.
Good morning. This is OneRadioNetwork.com. The telephone number is 888-663. 6386. Email patrick@oneradionetwork.com. Here's your host, Patrick Timpone.
Not doing the phone thing this morning. Our phones got kind of fried with a lightning bolt. So we had to send it back to the company, this little piece of equipment that makes all the phone thing work. And we're going to get it back today or tomorrow. And so we're just doing email this morning, patrick@oneradionetwork.com with Tony Pantalleresco, August 14th, 2017. He says, Cecilia says, please ask Tony about remedies for glaucoma. Thank you guys for the wonderful show each month. Well, you're welcome. It's our pleasure. Glaucoma, Tony P. Glaucoma.
You go to Walmart, take out the old eyes, put in new ones.
That's what I would do. And they have a special on Tuesday because you can get a flu shot with the new eyes.
That's right. There you go.
That's right. That's right. Oh, we are so
basically it boils down to, again, sulfur, taurine, copper, and zinc. And then you might want to start using enzymes to help, again, clear up and break up what's going on and get off sugar.
Sugar,
get off all the sugar, all your grains. That's what's causing the issues. So when the thing is, if we can get people pay attention to the bread thing, because we're dealing with transgenics, and a lot of these genetic anomalies that's in the food supply today is causing a disruption in your genetic codes. Things that should be functioning properly are now breaking down or not functioning at all because your code or your DNA has been affected. So when I talk to people today in regard to health, I am directing them now more and more to look after your DNA, your genetic code, your mitochondria, the ATP production, which are very key and vital to everything else that's functioning in your system. If you're taking things that are going to cause a disruption in your genetic code, it's going to hyperaccelerate, turn it off. It's going to cause malfunctioning in the response mechanism. Your immune system isn't going to get activated. And you have to start looking there for things like eye issues, lung issues. I mean, any issue you have, you can tie it to a genetic or DNA anomaly that's occurring in the system, and that's a result of not your genetics. And again, if you ever go to a doctor and they say you have a genetic disposition to XYZ,
right,
then listen to what they're saying, but look at it from the right perspective. You have a genetic disposition to XYZ, not because you were born with that genetic. It's because you were either you were exposed to an epigenetic or a transgenetic that has caused the anomaly. So this has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with either what you've been exposed to environmentally or what you've been consuming. So again, with the glaucoma, it's usually a disruption of sugar damage in the eyes, insulin damage as well. So again, these three things will help repair and regenerate, and again, change the diet. I can't emphasize that enough.
Oh, you mean got to change what we're eating? I mean, come on, that's not fun.
You know what? It actually becomes fun.
I know. I'm just kidding you. You know.
I'm glad you brought it up actually, because it actually does become fun.
It does, because it's like an adventure, right? And you're getting healthier, and you say, "Oh boy, this is good. Let's do this."
Yeah. Because you'll start to see when you eliminate these things that you
feel better.
Right off the bat, you feel better, and then you start seeing changes occur in your body. Your body's no longer mutating. Okay, it's going back normal to its initial code. It's going back to its initial template. And so when you start seeing that happen, you begin to realize that you don't really need to eat. For another thing, you realize you don't need to eat as much as you think you need to eat either. You begin to realize I don't need to eat 10 meals a day. I don't need to be snacking on this and that.
Right.
I can actually go by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, whatever, without having to eat and not feeling a sugar drop or feeling a disruption or feeling cloudy or, because as soon as you get, something going on, what's the first thing people do? They will grab some sugar.
Sure. Yeah, it's just kind of...
Got to get the energy up. So as soon as you get off of that and your body transitions, because there will be a transitional period as well, all of a sudden you realize I don't need the sugar. Matter of fact, you don't even crave it anymore. When you get off the bread and grains, eventually you don't even miss that either. You don't even think about it. Initially, the first year is a real challenge.
Sure.
But after that, it's smooth sailing. And and when you begin to realize your portions are less. You don't need to eat as much, and you're getting just as much out of that as you were eating a buffet like dinner every night. Um, you find like you know it's so it does become fun because you no longer need the drugs from the doctor. You no longer need to be popping 99 pills a day, you know, from a health food store just to get you through the day. You no longer need to be having these dependencies that are attaching you to a system that's keeping you broken down. So, yeah, it does become fun because now you're free.
Now you're free. Would you ask Tony, please, about kidney stones? What are, first off, the root cause of them and the natural cures to get rid of them to prevent their return? This is from Peter. So the cause, the cure is in the cause, so he wants to know the cause first to cure it.
Okay, cause can be anything from a calcium deposit to high levels of uric acid production. If you're eating a lot of canned soups, there's apparently a chemical in the mixture there that actually stimulates calcium deposits or kidney stones to occur. So again, avoid all canned soups. A lot of these packaged soups will have components in them that can actually affect that as well. The simplest thing to use to neutralize or get rid of the kidney stones is citric acid. Just take citric acid in water in a teaspoon 4 or 5 times a day until the stone dissolves, and away you go. You really don't need to do much else. I mean, you can take other things like sunflower lecithin, which will help break down the calcium deposits, but usually any acid, citric acid, ascorbic acid, citric acid, malic acid, will break it down. Again, it boils down to diet, you know, and what you're eating. Things that are going to produce high levels of oxalates, high levels of uric acid. These are the things you need to watch out for. Peanuts, spinach, beets can create the acids required to accumulate these calcium deposits. So even milk products, if you're drinking milk that's from the store, you're going to the store and you're buying a gallon of milk daily, that can cause a calcium deposit to occur in the kidneys, creating the stones, because that's not milk anymore. That is basically a paint-filled material that has been completely glycated, and when you consume it, it doesn't work at all the same way that it's supposed to.
Still in the milk case, though, but it's really not milk much anymore. I wonder, Tony, I see now that they have grass-fed milks, you know, at the hippie food store and the cartons and all that, and that's a good idea. I wonder, though, do you think the homogenization or the pasteurization of the same grass-fed milk would yield it meaningless, or would it be okay, do you think, to drink those if that's all you got, if you can't get the raw?
I tell people all the time, if you can't get milk, and even what you're just mentioning there, once it's been treated like that, it's dead. It's just dead.
It really is,
you can tell the difference when you get it from a cow, straight from a cow or a goat, and you drink that, and you drink the stuff, even with the so-called grass-fed. The only thing I found with the grass-fed milk when you buy it at the store, is that when you're making a ricotta or whatever, it has more fat content to it. Now, how good that fat is, I really don't know, but it gives you a better curd. That's the only difference I found with it. But as far as milk goes, I don't encourage people to drink any milk bought in the store. I do encourage them to get yogurt and kefir, because at least with that, you have the bacterial components in there that can break those proteins down that you don't have in the milk supply. So again, if you're strapped for cash, you go to a grocery store, try to find a yogurt with a full fat, no fruit in it, no
sugar, just full fat.
Sugar-free, full fat, plain yogurt. You want to add something to it, you do it at home after you've cleaned and washed whatever, or peeled off whatever you want to put in there, and that you do. Or if you just want to give milk to a child that's growing up, cut it 50-50. Like, get your yogurt, let's say you got 16 ounces, add 16 ounces of distilled water, add a little coconut oil, blend it together. You've got a component there that now will be rich in fat, rich in bacteria, and will be digestible. And if you're a mom who's weaning a child off the breast, then add a little gelatin with the coconut oil, with the yogurt, and you'll convert those proteins into this molecule size that your breast milk is. So you can still keep giving them this high protein mix, because babies need a lot of protein in their developmental stages. It's everything in the body is basically based on protein. So this is one of the things that you want that I would encourage.
I'm seeing a lot of new products with the coconut, with kefirs and with coconut. I haven't tried any of them. Do you think they're viable, some of this stuff they're putting out, coconut kefirs and stuff?
Well, again, they probably listened to the show here and got the idea.
That's right. So they can make a kefir, and I guess would probably be a better choice than the dairy, maybe, for a lot of people.
Yeah, because of the bacteria in it, and again, you're going to be able to stimulate those proteins. The fat will just regulate the protein, so it doesn't get eaten up right away and used up right away. So you'll have a 5-hour delay period in regarding to using those proteins. So it's not a bad idea, really. It's not bad at all. I just again, if it's a cultured milk with bacteria, whether it be a kefir grain or a strain of probiotic, that I would tell you to use. Even like cheeses. I'd encourage using cheese, encouraging using cottage cheese. Again, a 4% or more fat content. Cottage cheese actually allows you to absorb B12 better than even yogurt does. So there are benefits to getting these things. I mean, and as far as trying to find something pristine, you do the best you can with what you got. There's nothing out there that has not been somehow, some way violated, and no matter what you're buying.
Yeah.
So again, at best, you just learn to neutralize these components. There's no way you can say, we're not back in 1970, 1960, where you can go into a farm, you didn't have chemtrails and everything else, and so you could get the stuff from a store or market that actually was of an organic nature. Today, that's not the case. So, I mean, today you have to think in terms of, okay, this is going to be good for me, but it may have some issues, so I'll take this with that so I can neutralize the other issue. And that's how you have to start to think.
Ross writes in, are we able to make our own liquid chlorophyll supplement using green plants from our garden? I gather all that is needed is a green plant liquid extract, table salt, and coconut-based glycerol, or does the chemtrailing of our gardens make this a non-starter?
Again, I wouldn't do it. Not today. Again, anything above the ground is going to be exposed. It's going to permeate through the very core of the fiber. You can buy the chlorophyll powder and make it yourself, or they extract it. It'll be a lot cleaner than what you're going to be doing. And the amount of chlorophyll that you're going to get out of those products that you've got, you probably need several 100 pounds worth to get probably, 16 ounces of it. So the extraction process alone is going to be very costly. So you can make a green juice out of the stuff in the garden. But once you juice it, then you have to filter it with an oil in order to collect the debris and the nano that has been accumulated in the plant. Once you do that and you filter that, then you'll have reduced at least by 95 to 97% of the nano in the components will have been pulled out of the with the oil filtering.
What kind
so
of
you can do.
What kind of good things does chlorophyll do for the body? I know that you can buy a really nice one, a couple of them on the internet. What is it? Now has a good one, or what's the other one you like?
Bernard
Jensen's got one.
Sunnyside is another one. These are pretty clean. You got to make sure you get them plain, not with flavor. Once you add the flavor to it, that's when they start screwing around with the formula, and then you got all kinds of nonsense in it. But chlorophyll, believe it or not, chlorophyll is one of the few things that will knock out aflatoxins. You know how or carcinogens. You know how you have a barbecue and you kind of like meat a little bit burnt?
Yeah, baby.
Well, okay, so if you take that, that's going to cause stomach cancer, so they tell us, right? But if you chase it with chlorophyll, it neutralizes it. So that's one of the things you can do if you're having a barbecue. And I mean, this is not something you want to do all the time, but I mean, I enjoy a good barbecue sometimes. It's something like my meat a little bit charred. I enjoy the flavor of that. So I know that it can cause a problem in my gut, so I either have to up my vitamin C or I take chlorophyll with it and neutralizes it completely. Chlorophyll also helps with the blood. It's one of the things that can help renew the blood. It's got a sodium copper mixture, which is, again, allowing the copper to penetrate even the cells to help boost the immune system. Copper is also required for the brain to grow new connections to other brain cells. So it's a very powerful product. It's a very inexpensive product, and it's got a lot of good therapeutic effects and antioxidant effects. So it's for what you're spending for it. Compared to other high-end supposed antioxidants, are supposed to, put a red S on your chest, blue underwear, leave tall buildings. This probably pound for pound is one of the best buys next to vitamin C.
Speaking of that, Tony, I have some of this monoatomic copper from Nature's Pure Organics. I got some gold. I got some magnesium. What else I have? Gold and silver. Really fun. But I'm wondering, what's the difference, in your opinion, of absorption of doing these in, say, just taking a glove of it or nebulizing it, like a magnesium internally or a gold? Do you have any theories of
What was the one now? What, nebulizing or what?
Nebulizing versus just taking it internally.
Oh, you're going to breathe it in. So when you breathe it in, it gets absorbed through the lymphatics. You take it orally, again, depending on it will absorb. You will lose some in the digestive system. I mean, that's normal with anything you take. With the nebulizer, you should be getting a lot more, probably closer to a 95, 100% absorption, because you're bypassing the stomach and it's going through the lymphatics, so it'll get into the blood that way.
If you're doing a good silver like that, either silver or copper, why does it not kill some good guys too if you take it internally?
The silver does. Copper can, depending on the strength you're using it and how you're combining it. But again,
do you have to combine it with something to make it work?
No. Well, iodine. I mean, the silver itself will go in and kill bacteria. They tell you it doesn't, but it does.
It does.
Copper can if it's at a strong enough dose. But again, I may, like I said, all I would do after that is I would just increase the probiotic effect. Or I may use the sulfur to remove any excess buildup of metal, like the silver that might be in the gut that may not have come out. So, because sulfur will grab the silver and bring the stuff out. So
again, just mix it with sulfur might be the way to go. In both.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. For instance, sulfur will cling to iodine and take it right out the system, so you don't even get any of it in the system.
Yeah.
With copper, it works a little differently. It actually amplifies the copper. With zinc, it amplifies it. With selenium, it amplifies it. With zinc, copper, selenium, again, just about magnesium, potassium, it will actually amplify. But with iodine, this is why, when you're taking these cruciferous vegetables, the sulforaphane actually pulls that out of the system. And that's what causes the goitrogenic effect.
Tony Pantelleresco, it is Monday, August 14th. What we're talking about, what I was talking about, are these new products that, and I talked to Gary again over the weekend. He's a cool guy. He's on top of it. He has colloidal silver, and they are in monoatomic form. No nano here. And he's very, very aware of this whole nano thing. Believe me. He talked about it. First thing he started to talk about it, when I asked him about it, because I said, this nano. He said, no, it's not nano. And he knows about the dangers of it. And he has colloidal copper nano in monoatomic. He has copper, magnesium, gold, silver, and I believe he now has selenium. He's found another source, his other source that he had. You have to call to get this. If you click on the ad on the front page, you click on it, and then you call the number to place all orders, and you'll either talk to Gary or someone else. And he has all different parts per million. I mean, you can pony up. I know somebody that... I don't know, got a 10,000. I had a 10,000 parts per million, and this is authentic. I mean, it was expensive, but I got some. I don't think you need that much at all, but you can get it. I mean, if you really want to go after something, I don't know. But you can do some very high ppms. Have some gold. I think it's 750 parts per million. And again, it's more expensive than a lot of stuff, but this is the real deal. And we know the source here, which is our trademark. I know the fellow. I know how he makes it. And it's the real deal. And that's what you want, because you go out there on Amazon and other places, you have no idea what it is, if it's nano, how pure it is, how clean it is. That's the whole idea of know the source. So we're excited about these products. He's selling a lot of them. People like them. And you have little different things to choose from. I'd like to try some of the selenium. I was nebulizing the magnesium last night. Boy, and after about 5 minutes, you can feel it kind of just going, your body going, I think it's time for bed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. These Nature's Pure Organics right on the front page of OneRadioNetwork.com. Previously with Daniel Vitalis talking about elk velvet antler from Surthrival.
Elk antler or deer antler products are probably the most regenerative substance that we can find in nature, at least for mammals. A couple things that I think are really cool about it is that it's got 6 types of collagen.
Yes,
so that's really amazing. When you think about the antler of an elk or a deer, these are an organ that grow in just 3 months' time and then fall off, and the very next year they grow back. Mammals don't typically regenerate organs that fall off, but antlers from all of the cervid mammals are completely regenerated. In order for them to regenerate, they need to contain substances that cause regeneration. And that's like the 24 growth factors that we find in elk velvet antler.
Regeneration, we like that word. Growth factors, we love that word. For boys and girls, that's you. Exclusively from Surthrival and exquisitely produced. Daniel Vitalis, OneRadioNetwork.com. Well, you've known or heard us talk about the value of sweating on a regular basis, every day, every other day, 3 times a week. Who knows, man? Just do it. And we're very pleased to tell you that we have I don't think we've had a sale for a year, and it's a sale on this sauna, and it really is a beautiful little machine. I mean, I don't say beautiful in a way. I mean, it's not a a wooden thing that it looks like it's not like that at all. It's got this space age material where everything just kind of bounces around, and the infrared beams get you, and it gets very hot. It's a very nice unit, very well built. You sit, comes with a chair. You sit in there. Your head is outside, and I use it almost every day now. And it really gets hot. I mean, I think 160, 170, 180, something like that. I haven't measured it for a long time, but these are beautiful units. We generally sell them for $1,195 delivered continental U.S. now, just continental U.S. We're getting orders in where people just click on it, and they live in Alaska or they live in Hawaii or Canada, and then we got to email them back and say, hey, we need more shipping. Now, it's not a great deal. We shipped one to the UK, which I think was only about $175 more than the $995 to the UK, and that's with the 220 plug and everything. And it ships right from the manufacturer in Taiwan, the medical university where they make these little units. So they're beautiful. They're really nice, very quiet, extremely low EMFs. We've measured them with all the fancy machines. So it's the real deal. The sauna sale, only another 2 weeks to go. $995 delivered, continental U.S. Anywhere outside continental U.S., just email me, Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com, and I'll get you a quote, the exact quote.
To talk to Patrick, call 888-663-6386 or email Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Once again, here's Patrick.
Well, once again, forget that phone number because Shirley, our offstage announcer girl, she's totally clueless about the phone thing. But we're doing emails this morning. Our phone possibly going to get fixed up either today or tomorrow. The piece of equipment. It is Patrick at OneRadioNetwork.com. Okay, we've got a few more for Tony Pantalorsko. Always great emails here. Good morning, Tony and Patrick. From Ernst. What is a good protein that I can get for around $30? Well, it depends how big the container is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
I don't know what he's talking about
now,
here. Maybe this one way is too expensive for him. The smallest one we have, Ernst, is a 1 pound container. It's $45. Yeah. Maybe Tony's got some less costly ideas.
The reason why he's asking that question, and again, I'm assuming he's in the United States.
I think so.
Because when you go to a health food store today, and you're looking at a 1 pound container of a whey isolate that doesn't have anything in it, you're probably looking between $25 and $30 for 1 pound. And that's a far, far cry from when we used to buy 2 pounds for $30. There was one, it's a company called Red Mills. They have a whey product. I was really surprised because I looked at it saying, what? There's nothing in it. There's no this, no that. I was impressed. So that one might be more up your alley. Again, I don't know where did you say you lived again?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Yeah. Okay. So Georgia would probably be a lot cheaper than it is up here in Michigan when I go over there to get it. So look around, read the labels, read the labels.
Read the labels.
There's an egg protein. Yeah, there's an egg protein by now. It's a clean one as well. Those are the only two I would go to. Unfortunately, now did raise their price on their product, but it is a good protein as well. But these are two that I found in the open market that are clean. No crap in it. No neotames, sucralose, aspartame, fructose, nothing, just pure whey. So you can get it there as well, and that may help you. But like I said, read the labels. The majority of the products out there today, especially by the athletic name brands, all have some kind of excipient, or either they're counterfeiting the whey by adding wheat grains or pea proteins or soy or some other nonsense to it, which is nothing but garbage. Again, all kinds of hormone disrupting or endocrine disrupting chemicals in some of these things.
Yeah, and plus you got to be careful, Tony, that the cows are not been doing drugs. They got to say organic or grass-fed whey. If not, could be a problem.
It could be a lot. But as far as clean without any other, again, excipient added to it or any other kind of component that's going to neutralize or create a malabsorption of the protein, these were the two cleanest that I found so far. Like I said, I have found other products, but I don't buy the stuff coming from New Zealand as supposedly as clean as they say it is. Especially when they're spraying a chemical there called Brotafolcum 1080. That Brota 1080 is such a lethal chemical. There's only 2 countries in the world that haven't banned it. New Zealand is one of them. So it makes me kind of wonder how clean their stuff really is when it wipes even the sharks will not come near the island if it gets into the water supply.
Okay.
That's how bad it is. Okay. So again, be careful when you hear the marketing hype on countries that are selling products that are clean and pristine. They may be clean and pristine based on their standards, but you need to read labels, and I can't emphasize that enough. Read labels.
Let's see. Ivan wants to know, can Tony tell us a company or website that he uses as a good high-quality source for the minerals in his copper, zinc, gold, and other colloidal mineral formulas?
Someone was supposed to contact me over the weekend, Friday. There is a place where you can buy gold leaf online. That's what I use to make my colloidal gold. I use a maceration method to make it, and that one is the gold is 23.75 carat. So it's about as pure as you're going to get it. And as far as the silver goes, I'll go to a place where you buy coins, and I'll buy the silver squares. They're 999 silver. And as far as the copper goes, I'll either use a copper wire or I'll go to a coin shop where I can buy copper. They got these big, huge copper pennies. They're about 2 inches in circumference, and they're also 999 copper as well. So they're pretty clean.
And then do you have to go through anything special to make sure that yours is not nanoparticles, or is the nanoparticles a planned thing by most of these colloidal silvers? So they in other words, they do it nano by design.
Yeah, but it's all by design.
By design.
All by design.
So when you do it, there's just no issue, right?
Yeah, the big thing that has come out in the last 5-6 years is nano delivery method. And when you look at a nano delivery method, when it comes to metal, any kind of metal, iodine, selenium, magnesium, lead, cadmium, whatever, when it's that small, it kills, it doesn't heal. And it causes malformation of the DNA, causes genetic damage. It is basically it causes brain damage, skeletal damage, spleen damage, liver damage, tissue damage. We talked about nanosilica in the food supply and how the damage it has caused. So anybody who's going to a health food store to buy a colloidal product, colloidal should be on a micron level, number one, because on a micron level, the body can use it. It doesn't saturate. It discharges its charge, and it's removed from the system. The hype that they say about the nanos is more effective because of the way it penetrates and it can, blah, 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 and the charge is puts out there. It has nothing to do with anything other than the size of the particle and the discharge that it puts out. When it saturates, it literally fries the cell and causes a change in the DNA structure of the cell itself. So it's not something you want to be using. So when we're talking making your own, a lot of times you can see the particles. That's how big they are. So they are on the micron level, and you are not going to have the issue that you're going to have with the stuff you buy at the store. So the health food store ain't what it used to be. And majority of the time, what you're getting at these places, I would say today, anywhere from 3 to 5% of the products you're seeing in the store are viable. The rest is a crapshoot, and you really have to read what you're buying. So be careful.
Be careful. Morning, Patrick. I went to Denver this past weekend and I came home sick, coughing up clear phlegm, but have sore throat during the night. Any suggestions to heal this quickly? You were there, she was probably there smoking wacky tobacco. That's probably what it was. Just kidding. Okay. Got a little...
Take nebulizer. You get a humidifier and nebulize copper, nebulize iodine while you're sleeping so that you're breathing the stuff in to help combat whatever infection you have. Up your vitamin C, up your sulfur, up your copper, up your zinc, and orally. Consume things like onion, even juice an onion and cut it with water 50-50 and use teaspoon increments. Add copper to it, add iodine to it, add selenium to it. Again, fortify and again build the system up. Add zinc to it. This will make a big difference in the recovery time frame. Use saturated fat. Lungs require a lot of saturated fat. Zinc and copper produce SOD to protect the lungs. So these are things that you can incorporate, to help expedite the healing.
Tony, when it comes to croaking bad guys, what's the difference between the what's going on with copper and silver?
To be honest with you, I don't even like silver. Quite honest with
you.
You
don't? Really? I thought it was a great disinfectant and killer of bad boys and all that stuff.
It is, and I'll tell you the reason why I don't care for it that much. It's overused, number one. Number two, your body doesn't need silver. It needs copper and zinc. And a lot of times when you have a copper and zinc deficiency, this is when a lot of these anomalies can occur. Now, I will use silver as a last-ditch resort. In other words, if I've tried using a copper sulfate or a zinc sulfate or a selenium sulfate or an iodine, and it's not doing the trick, then I will start using the silver. Then and only then, because the silver has a lot of disruptive properties as well. So it can be beneficial, but the reason, like I say, I don't care for it that much, I find I get better benefits actually with iodine, selenium, and copper and zinc. I find I get a lot more benefit with that. These are minerals my body requires. I'm not adding a foreign mineral or metal to it. Now, I will use it if I've been hit with something and I've megadosed on vitamin C and I've megadosed on the iodine and whatever, and it's still there, then I will use it to maybe tip the scale to knock it out. But again, then after I get done, I'm using a lot of saturated fats, vitamin A, vitamin E, to pull out any excess silver that may still be lingering in the system. So I prefer the copper just because of the way it works. It's one of the best biocidals. It's better than even silver as far as the biocidal goes. And again, it deals with, in some ways, something's far better than silver does. So I prefer it for that reason. And I like the fact that copper can increase my mental acuity, which I can use all the help I can these days.
Yeah, we certainly can, because we're all kind of a little dumb. Well, here's an email. What dosages of creatine would Tony recommend for a 200-pound male doing strength training, wanting to lose fat but not overall weight? Does he believe in the so-called loading phase, where large amounts are taken for 2 to 4 weeks before reducing the dosage?
If you're rich and shameless and you got money to piss out to burn out...
Rich and shameless?
Yeah, rich and shameless, and you get money to burn,
right.
You can do the loading phase, but the loading phase is a waste of time and energy. Majority, that's an old method. It doesn't really work. All it does is cause you to buy more creatine.
Oh, good.
I would probably tell you use a teaspoon before and after a workout. Do not add it to grape juice. Do not add it to grapefruit juice. If you are going to use it, you are going to need a sugar. Either combine it with glycerol or carbonate it. If you carbonate it, you'll also get it in the system. So basically add some baking soda, citric acid, creatine. When she bubbles up, down it. That's how you're going to absorb it. If you do the grape juice method, all you're going to do is have water weight. Your gut's going to swell with water. Same with the grapefruit. It doesn't absorb. You only get a 30% uptake with it that way. If you do the teaspoon with a sugar component with it, you're going to get like a 99% uptake. If you do the carbonation, again, you're going to get about a 99% uptake, and that's what you're looking for. You want it to be shuttled into the muscles, and again, any acid you add with these proteins will make them more available to your system.
Any acids, okay. What is Tony's opinion of, oh boy, I'm going to spell it, MESOGLYCAN?
Oh, that's I believe that's the antioxidant.
He says you only need 50 milligrams a day for blood vessel support, or 100 milligrams for a problem. Very popular in Europe for blood vessel strength, integrity, and flexibility. Always enjoy the show. This is Lou in Delaware. So, do you know anything about that product?
Spell it again. MEG
M-E-S.
MES. Sorry, hold on.
MESOGLYCAN. Why don't you Google that? MESOGLYCAN. I guess it's blood vessel support.
Mesoglycan. Okay, I have to look at it. It sounds like it's coming from a mushroom product. Again, I don't know what it is. I'd have to look it out. And again, meso, it's talking about the size of the molecule. Again, we're talking nano.
That is a nano, you think?
Well, it's a nano just by the prefix to it, mesoglycan. Glycans are basically derived from mushrooms, and they have used them for that. I, again, prefer the old school using enzymes and ascorbic acid and bioflavonoid. It does the same thing. So I'd have to look at it to see what their hype is on it or research is on it. You know, to be all fair, I should say research, because, again, I don't know. Again, there are so many ways of doing these things. Serrapeptase is the one go-to enzyme I go to. I don't go with any nano. I don't believe in the nano. But the serrapeptase I'm a big fan of. And again, adding bioflavonoid C mixture and some minerals, you could probably do the same thing. So again, I'd have to look at it. Don't know. Can't tell you for sure.
Lynn writes in, nano and grains. In the absence of any grains in the diet, how can one get enough energy prior to playing, say, hockey? What is the best way to replenish the lost minerals during extensive sweating, and how to neutralize the stinky hockey gear after the game? Stinky hockey.
Well, stinky hockey gear, you wash it, you know.
I don't know what they mean about stinky hockey gear, but I don't know.
Well, because you sweat like crazy and so
I see.
So again, if you wash your clothing every so often, that would reduce that.
So Lynn's a hockey person here, I see.
Yeah. So the other thing too, as far as you can get a potato.
Like energy, potatoes, right?
Go eat a potato. Add a little fat to it so that you have a prolonged energy. You can still use things like applesauce. You can, again, take an apple, peel it, and then mush it down and then consume it. The same thing with pear. These are got the sugars you're looking for. As far as minerals going, you're not going to get a whole lot of mineral from your vegetables anyway. I don't know where this idea is coming from anymore, because the chemtrails falling down on your vegetables is neutralizing just about anything in there anyway. And then by the time you get it to market, they have irradiated just about every vegetable you're consuming. So whatever nutritional value you think you may be getting, unless you're going to a farm or having your own garden or a greenhouse, you're going to get very little out of it anyway. So as far as minerals go, well, there's a good company called Nutribiotic. It has an electrolyte mixture, which has got a wide variety of minerals, and then you can make your own. We show you how to do that on the electrolyte formula in the YouTube. So you got options.
So when we do a sauna or we sweat a lot, like when we're playing hockey, it's good to take these electrolytes, right? To put them back in.
Yeah, I would do it before and after, because especially with the sauna, because again, if you're in there for an hour, and again, it does a lot of heavy detoxing. Sometimes the minerals that are in your body are going to come out through the sweating. So you may want to incorporate that before and after, because sometimes you'll come out of that thing and you're a little dozy because, again, of the release you have. So any electrolyte you take afterwards will make a huge difference in the way you think and feel and clear. So, yeah, definitely.
Well, I've never made an hour. I think the longest I've ever gone is 30 minutes. It just is so intense. It's pretty intense, man. But Tony, I found what's that?
I did it for an hour once. I had
really?
I added cedar, tuja, essential oil on my skin before I went in, and I added a pine. And when they shut the thing down over me and I got hit with it, when they opened it up, this vapor came out.
Ooh.
Yeah, guys, just holy jumping, just overwhelmed.
How hot? How hot was the sauna? A pretty hot one.
It was infrared, so I don't know how hot they got.
But you sweat a lot.
Again, well, you detox, right? But again, I wanted the pores open up and allow not only the nitric oxide to flow, but I wanted to carry these things inside the system. So if there was any kind of hidden bacteria or mold or whatever, it would have gone in there and zapped it.
That's a good question. So what kind of stuff could I slather on, and other people who have saunas slather on their body to leverage the sweating process up a bit? I like to use castor oil on my tummy. That's always fun in the sauna. You have any other things we can put on our skin?
I would just take any essential oil that has to do with the trees. Ceylon. What is it called? Cypress. You can use cypress. You could use tuja. You can use pine, balsam fir, Scots pine. Apply these on all over your legs, your arms, your midriff, your chest.
What's that do? All
put them on.
The tree essential oils.
When you get that, when the skin starts opening up, this is going to permeate very deeply into the tissues, and you'll be surprised how much oxygen you're going to be breathing in the lungs, and all of a sudden you'll feel that compressed lung open up. And again, if there's something inside, don't be a bit surprised if some stuff comes out through the skin because the stuff has basically flushed it out. And then when you get done, a lot of times you're feeling very mobile and very loose and relaxed, and away you go. And then you got this stuff inside your system. So as you're breathing and it's permeating out of the system, it actually has a protective barrier around you as well. So it has a benefit.
And essential oils, all the trees, the birches, the pines, cypress. Now, but
you can use also the peppermint family, like thyme, but it can be a little hot. Peppermint, spearmint, they can be a little bit on the hot side. So, so again, you can use them, play with them, tinker with them. Don't put a lot on. It's not something you slather on. It's like 1 or 2 drops on your hands, rub it, and then rub them all over. That should cover both legs. Another 1 or 2 drops.
Not a lot. In other words, you're not doing 10 drops, and it's just too much. Yeah, just too much.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 drops. That's it on the palms and rub it in.
I'll have to try some of that. And so if I, get really weird, I'm just going to call you in the middle of the night and whine. Tony, what'd you tell me? Holy cow, man. Tony, I found out that a friend has droopy lower eyelids, and therefore they no longer catch the tear flow. Is surgery the only option?
You can try the combination we mentioned earlier, taurine, zinc, and copper, and then add B1 to it and see if that'll make a change.
Mm-hmm. Another thing you could do, and this is cool, there's a spiritual exercise that I have done, Tony, the last 3 or 4 weeks that I just found out about, where you actually, at night, at night when it's totally dark, you find a little speck of light somewhere, and you just stare at that light with your eyes open and don't blink, and you do a special, do a mantra, but you don't have to do that, special one. And when you do that, I don't know if you've ever tried to keep your eyelids open without blinking. Have you ever tried to do that? Man, eyes will water and burn. It's really hard to keep them open, but you can get good at it. And after a while, and I have found that after doing that just a couple of weeks, man, when I cry now at a movie or something like that, man, they just really pour out there. I think I'm cleaned out my tear ducts doing that. I really do. It's great. Yeah, it was just...
You actually go to a movie and cry?
No, I Netflix. So, and there was this great movie. I mean, this is an old movie I've seen like 12 times. And it was at the end, they get together, and I'm crying. And man, I got tears on my face. I said, man, I've never tried that much. I think that might just clear out those tear ducts. I don't know.
I might. I mean,
probably good for the eye, right? Probably good for the eye.
There's a biofilm on the eye itself from the dust in the air.
Yeah.
The biofilm does form. So sometimes you can't see clearly because you got that film.
Mm-hmm.
What I do sometimes when I'm in my bath and I got my triangles and salts in there, I'll go in the water and I will open my eyes and blink, continually blink. And the salt gets in, and the next day on the corner of my eye, I've got this crusty material. The biofilm has been, dried out and has released.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that with castor oil. If you put castor oil in your eye, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you got, Mr. Sandman in the corner. And that's just stuff that didn't need to be there, right?
Right.
Didn't need to be there. It's coming out. By the way, that little eye exercise thing, if you can do it for 5 minutes and just chant a spiritual word, love, or whatever, your favorite guru, you do that enough and one day you'll just leave your body. So just be aware that you might have an OBE, but that's another story. That's why we do those kind of things. My massage therapist has a friend that was bit by a rattlesnake yesterday. My husband killed a baby one outside of our porch last week. What would you do if you were bitten by a rattlesnake? Well, if you quit killing them, they'll quit biting you. Oh, just...
if I would definitely be upping the enzymes, huge, like every half hour, upping enzyme. And upping the vitamin C, and even using a salt pack with turpentine. What you do with that is you put it around the bite, not on it, to contain the poison within the within that parameter, and then the salt and the turpentine should help again also break down any issue. I probably would still go get checked to see that the poisons haven't, traversed. These are some things I would do in the immediate reaction if I got bit by one, to again contain the protein, and again to start neutralizing it with the enzymes. And we're talking high end or high volume. Even if you get the high enzymes, you're like eating 10 at a time to get it in the system. And again, every half hour, every 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Does nano damage? Oh, let's see. What? Come on, folks. Nano CBD oil. This person is writing, wanting to know if this is a problem as well. Nano CBD oil.
Again, you're looking at a marketing hocus pocus here.
Mm-hmm.
CBD oil, there's no way you're going to nano this, without damaging the oil. So if you got a nano CBD oil, then you probably got an inert or dead oil.
They're just making it up, you mean?
Yeah, that's all it is. Just a lot of hocus pocus there. Nano will apply to protein. Nano will apply to metal. Okay, as far as I know. So again, when you're the only nano, okay, I shouldn't say the only nano, but milk basically is a nano. It's based on nano. It's on the nano size, but it's a protein, not a metal. And so it has a different functionality all the way around. When you're talking diatomaceous earth, you're talking nanosilica. When you're talking any form of nano delivery method, if it has to do with metal, it is going to be toxic. End of story. There's no even any question, is it going to damage you here, damage you there? The answer will be yes on just about every front. So when you're talking an oil extraction, basically what they're using is an alcohol to extract the oil, and then they're cooking that extract down to get to the very high concentration of the oil. There's no way that's going to be nano.
So they're just probably saying nano because it's a fad.
It's a selling thing, like organic.
That's right. It's a fad now. Everything nano, it's smaller, it's better. Yeah. Well, Tony P., what are you going to do for fun today? Anything exciting?
I am going to my farm later on.
Got a farm?
Where I get a cow that has been tugged in a jug straight in, and I'm drinking my milk. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, stuff like that. And I got the rest of my day to deal with whoever's going to call me for whatever toxic poison or genetic damage or whatever's going on.
Do people call you from all over the world, all day long?
Oh, like I said, last night from Australia, I get calls from New Zealand, I get calls from Asia, I'm getting calls from Africa, all across Europe.
That's crazy.
It's becoming, it's great in the sense that they're calling, yes, but it's not great what's going on. And this is the thing I try to emphasize even on your show, that this is no longer a localized phenomenon. This is a global one, and it's exponentially growing. This is the other thing people are not, because you're not hearing this on mainstream, and you won't hear it until for another 10 years. So,
well, it's all the Queen's fault. That's it. She's the one.
I'm sure she's a contributor.
That's right. Dear Miss Queen, please leave us alone.
Yeah, please quit spraying us.
Okay, that's right. Augmentedforest.com. Errors Plus Speed works on YouTube. Tony Pantelleresco, he's here every Tuesday. Tony P., thanks a lot for your work, kid. Stay out of trouble now. Stay under the radar.
All right. Thanks for having me,
See you. Hey? He always says, hey. Thanks for having me, eh? Hey? Well, we got a great show tomorrow. Those of you who are looking for a cool way to control EMFs in your home or on your person, Brandon's got a new product we'll talk about. Also, being rational, and also Dr. Ellie with part 2 of the whole teeth thing. My test.
Broadcasting from the beautiful Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.